time of genius and a time of blood. A bastard child grows into a man. Servant of kings, survivor in a land of assassins. He builds an extraordinary legend in a place where life is cheap. Skilled in the mechanisms of war and the workings of power, he creates the timeless masterpiece, the brilliant invention, and survives another day. Veiled in secrecy, marked by genius, and driven by his own code of survival and success. A man for all seasons, and a mystery for the ages. Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. It stood as a symbol of Roman glory for more than 1,000 years. But after a brutal siege, it falls at last to the Muslim Turks.
The Pope, Pius II, right after the fall of Constantinople, reminded everybody in letters he sent throughout Europe that this was a monumental event.
The collapse of the mighty Byzantine Empire seems like the very end of civilization itself. But civilization is about to see a rebirth. With the old city, an old idea dies, and a new one escapes, finding refuge to the west, in the city-states of Italy. To the Byzantines, God is the center and meaning of everything. But a revolutionary idea, humanism, allows for the study of man and new explorations into science. It is a philosophy with the power to change the world.
In studying God, we can study the theology and the philosophy of God. But in studying man, we can study biology, zoology, anthropology, technology, sciences of all different types. Humanism transferred man's focus to man.
In the city-states of Italy, humanism ignites a new age. The Renaissance, heralding an explosion of new ideas, new inventions, and new discoveries. It is a time like no other.
It's a nice time to be born as a really brilliant person.
In a small rural town in Tuscany, a young boy discovers the world. Almost from the beginning, the mysteries of nature fascinating.
He grew up in the countryside outside of Florence, and he seems to have been able to find all kinds of animals and plants and insects.
But young Leonardo has no real place in the world, no future. He is the bastard child of a respected notary and a poor farmer's daughter. He lives in his father's house, while his mother is left to marry a man of her own class.
His mother married, sometime after Leonardo was born, a local guy who is known through what seems to be a nickname, Attaccabriga. The fighter, the quarreler, the guy with the fists. They probably lived locally. It's not inconceivable that Leonardo would have had some access to her, but it's equally possible that Leonardo's family kept him away from these other people who were of a different social station.
Young Leonardo enjoys a comfortable childhood with his father and stepmother. But because of his illegitimate status, his prospects look bleak.
It's sort of like a second-class family membership. Legal offspring, obviously, are going to inherit the family estate, as well as follow the father into the family business. Leonardo is disqualified in some measure from that.
Leonardo!
Sì, madre.
Torna a casa, immediatamente. Ma perché devi sempre far di tutto un gioco?
Destined for life as a tradesman, he cannot even take his father's name. He is known as Leonardo from Vinci. His family will spend no money on his formal education.
You can sort of imagine what it must be like to have been considered illegitimate in an age when being illegitimate really meant something. There were, professions that were closed to you. You were constrained greatly by that, by something completely beyond your control.
Faced with his illegitimacy, young Leonardo begins to develop a code to push beyond all expectations, past all obstacles. It will eventually propel him into the corridors of power and on to greatness. In his teens, Leonardo moves with his father to Florence, a city driven by perilous politics. In this thriving place of commerce and beauty, one family stands at the center. A family whose importance to Leonardo will grow as he matures. The Medici.
The Medicis are in charge of Florence because they were the bankers early on, and they gained control of Florence. And even though it was a republic and somebody should be voting for them, they controlled all the votes.
The Medici, rich and very powerful, are the most important patrons of the arts in Florence. Yet in spite of their power, the Medici bankers can never rest easy. Assassination is common, as rival banking families compete for the city's wealth.
If you look at some of these paintings just of the Renaissance leaders, they're wearing what looks like studs on their clothing. No, they're wearing cloth-covered armor.
L'interesse è difficoltoso, come avevamo discusso.
E allora onoratelo col vostro sigillo.
They're scared to death that they're going to get knifed in the streets. The Medicis keep a poisoner on staff at all times. I mean, what's going on?
In a society governed by fear, suspicion breeds a brutal form of justice. Any accusation, personal or political, can be lodged anonymously through the tamburo. This dangerous box throws a dark shadow on Leonardo's future. Once a citizen lodges a charge, the authorities investigate. Even the innocent are shamed, and the guilty severely punished.
The sight of dead bodies executed in public is commonplace in a city like Florence, as it is throughout Italy.
Leonardo lives in a time and place where life is cheap, particularly for the lower classes. He knows he must break free of his bastard status and earn a respectable position in society. And that means membership in the guilds.
Florence is a city that is officially governed by the guilds. It's been that way since the end of the 13th century. The government of Florence is drawn from the most powerful guilds.
The guilds are professional trade unions, but most are closed to a bastard like Leonardo.
It seems quite clear that he didn't have any kind of formal schooling, which would have been the norm if he had been a legitimate child of his father rather than the illegitimate son that he was.